let's switch topics, shall we? Let's move over to topic 2. Let's talk about The Last of Us Part 2, because your boy's working on his backlog, and he finally finished it. Only a few years late. So yeah, I'm going to go into full spoilers about Last of Us in a few moments here, but just want to talk about the game, my review, my thoughts about the story they told, about the characters, about moments I thought were cool, interesting, and just some self-reflection after playing it. So with any review, we'll do a general review and synopsis first of just what I thought overall of the experience. And then I'll go into full spoilers and I'll give you guys a full heads up there. So Last of Us Part 2, finished it on stream this past Wednesday. And to be honest, I absolutely love this experience. Granted, I did just because of my own schedule and stupidity. When I was playing it, it was not straight through. There were a few breaks in between of like moment to moment. So we started off strong. We did well with Ellie, but then we took a little break. And then when we ended up when we ended up getting back to it, we played the second half of the story, not quickly, but in succession. So that had a little bit more momentum behind it and made more sense. But yeah, I absolutely loved the experience. I loved the story that they did tell. I loved that they made me question how I was feeling or who I was rooting for a lot. And that's signs of a good story, where you can almost sympathize with the villain because of what they're going through. Everybody is, the hero in their own story or the protagonist of their own story. And I liked that we could see elements of that in the storyline of where I was questioning myself or really enjoying the narrative and storytelling that they were telling for these characters to make me think. From gameplay, we had a little bit more freedom and exploration compared to the first one. And I think this shines brighter than the first one ever did. I've talked about in the past my experiences with the first game, how I played it late. Everybody was talking so highly of it, how it's a masterpiece of a game. And when I ended up playing it, it just kind of fell, not flat, but it felt like, yeah, that was something. So I replayed the first one before playing the second one for the first time. And the first one felt exactly the same. I didn't feel super great about it. I didn't feel super excited afterwards. It just felt like another experience. While this one was exciting, was fun. I enjoyed exploring. I enjoyed, once again, the story. Not to tack that on again, but this one felt light years above the other one in terms of excitement and how I felt afterwards of a conclusion of that story, and the journey I went on as a player was so much better. It makes me intrigued to, if they continue this series, to know where they go, as this seemed to kind of conclude things or have a good ending. But time will tell to see if they dive more into this world. We know that they're doing the multiplayer thing with factions, but I don't think that'll tie in a lot into the main plot line of 1 and 2. So we'll have to see if they decide to do a part 3 and what comes from it. So yeah, absolutely loved it. Definitely would recommend it to players or people to play and check out. And if you are just watching the Last of Us series, then you're, I think, in for a big season 2 when they decide to dive into this story. I'm curious how they're going to do it, if they're just going to keep it 1 season, or if maybe they'll try and expand it into 2, just because there are a lot of things that go on, and characters' perspectives that we need to see. But we'll have to see how Neil and HBO are going to make that. So yeah. So yes, we are about to go into full spoilers. Not going to go into all the plot things and whatnot, just general thoughts, freedom of talking about what did happen. So if you want to avoid spoilers, this will be the point to stop. Come back after you played it. Obviously, check this out and see what you agree and what you didn't agree with. I'll give you a clear countdown, rather. So we're going to start spoilers in 3, 2, 1. So yeah, Last of Us Part 2 was fantastic. I briefly talked about it before with the questioning of like what I thought and who I should be cheering for. At the end of this experience, I am cheering for Abby way more than I am cheering for Ellie. Experiencing both of their journeys in that 3 days in Seattle, seeing both of their perspectives. Obviously, starting with Ellie, going after the revenge storyline with Joel, what happened to him, which was awful, absolutely awful and heartbreaking to go through. Seeing her experience over the next 3 days, killing off Abby's friends, one and by one, and kind of being very brutal about it, and then going to Abby and seeing what Abby was going through those 3 days, dealing with this new renegade Fireflies, kind of learning that she's not seeing eye to eye with them, still having this history with Owen, which is a little bit rough, and deciding to move forward and help some others in Lev and Yara, I believe her name is, the brother and sister who are running away from their own problems, deciding to help them out and move forward and try and rediscover the Fireflies and see if this rumor, this lead that she has, is true. Going through her storyline and her narrative, seeing the characters that Ellie and the player kind of took care of beforehand, as we only see them in this negative light, seeing them in a more positive light on the other side of the fence, I was cheering for Abby way more and felt more sympathetic for her cause than I did Ellie towards the end. And it kind of leads into it as well. Like, obviously this is Ellie's story, and we see her conclusion to this, where she ends up letting Abby go after their interaction the first time, and seeing her move on with her life, and her and Dina with JJ, the young baby, and like they have their own farm and they're living a life together. But obviously she is still dealing with, I would kind of put, like, I don't know if this is the correct terminology, but like a PTSD, like dealing with Joel's death and reliving it and having nightmares about it. She can't shake this feeling. Like, having to go back was just so heartbreaking because she had this life for herself that was peaceful, that was nice, and like to have her not be able to look past this and have to go do this thing, like, it's one of those things where I understand how she felt so compelled, but felt so awful on the opposite side too, of like, this is so great for you, just be happy, and you're happy, your family happy here. To see her pretty much throw away her life just to chase after Abby again sucked. And we see Abby moving forward with Lev trying to find the Fireflies. They get ambushed by the Rattlers, and Ellie ends up once again discovering Abby in her hunt, saving Abby and Lev, and like forcing her to fight and trying to get her revenge. Ultimately, she comes to the decision to move forward and like go take the high road, as Abby did in the past, after seeing all of her friends murdered. Seeing Ellie do that, like, I'm very happy she decided to take the high road. That was very tense in that moment of like, I don't want to do this. But knowing after the fact that she threw away everything just to come to peace now, it's just rough. And you see her go back to the farm and go back, and it's abandoned and she's just alone. It's just, it rips your heart apart. So, like, they did a good job with, I guess, redeeming Ellie at the end, where I still felt bad for her, but I think ultimately I did like Abby better. And once again, it was just great storytelling of like perspective. Like, the whole first half of the game when you're playing as Ellie, like, you're just bloodlust going after the people who wronged Joel and killed Joel. Granted, I get the whole situation. Joel kind of fucked up and could have potentially, we don't know, guarantee, saved the world, or at least created a cure. Like, seeing Ellie just hunting these guys down and you being like, yeah, let's get justice, whatever, and then flipping the script and like taking what we know as a villain and then making them their own protagonist and being this hero and being someone you could rally behind was excellent. Excellent. You know, I thought it was just going to be, I didn't think it was going to be as strong as it was when we took over Abby. I thought it was just going to be a brief, like, these are quick moments of, like, Abby getting more stressed or more angry in the situation as she discovers what's happened to her friends, and, like, build up that animosity so we could see it from her side of, like, the villain getting stronger, angry, or whatever. But to give her these moments of, like, being human and her own struggle with, like, what happened to her father, and then helping out Lev and Yara and their situation, and then, like, seeing the loss there, even though it's a shorter relationship, but being supportive of Lev and his journey, and then trying to help Yara be a better, like, sister, or at least, like, help her feel like she's doing it. Like, man, they just did a very good job. And if they do decide to go with a part 3, I don't know what they do. I don't know. I guess it would be, the strongest argument would be take Abby and Lev and show the story of them trying to find the Fireflies and where they have set up again and that rebuilding. Because I don't know what you do with Ellie here. Like, obviously she's in a very low spot in a dark place. But I don't think that's as simple as, like, oh, just go to the encampment and be like, make amends with Dina. I don't know if that's a super strong story or whatever, you know. I could have seen it if, like, Tommy did die and then Abby left there. You could have cliffhangered, and then Ellie's continuing in part 3 to hunt down Abby to get revenge for Joel, for, I'm forgetting the gentleman, the dad, biological father. I don't know, and I'm sorry. And Tommy, if he died, but then he didn't die because he got just shot in the leg. I didn't pick up on that. Like, I could have seen that, but we obviously didn't do that. We did the post story with the second hunt after. So yeah, I don't know. I feel real bad for Ellie, but Abby was the one that, won me over in the end. Granted, once again, that could have been how I played it, where we played as Ellie for a while, and then I kind of broke it up and started Abby, and then came back to Abby, and then the finish, I just went right through. So it could have been more of that recency bias, or that playing through it more in a consecutive playthrough. It's hard to tell. I don't know. But yeah, it was an amazing game. I'm really glad I gave it a try, especially after not particularly connecting with the first one either time. The show did more for that game. The show did more for the game than the game did for itself, in my opinion, in terms of playing it. This one blew it out of the water, and I get it, you have to have the first one in order to get to the point of the story of this one, but yeah, I just absolutely love this one, and this has changed my opinion on The Last of Us as a series of, like, nah, that's not for me and that's not that great, to, like, yeah, this one crushes it. Still have not negative feelings, still have feelings on the first one, but this one was very, very good. But that's been another episode of the Wait, What Are We Talking About podcast. Short, sweet, to the point. Hey, not every podcast has to be an hour, right? You got things to do. Time is the most valuable resource there is. But I appreciate you guys hanging out and spending some time with us today. My name is Bret, aka Enigma911. If you guys want to catch this podcast live, you can go over to twitch.tv/Enigma911 and drop a follow over there. You'll get notified when we go live with the podcast or stream, so you can hang out with us, join on the fun and the conversation. But if you can't catch it live, that's a-okay. Go over to YouTube and podcast services the very next week, where it's broken out topic by topic and put as one big video in MP3 for your amusement on the following Friday. Last but not least, any way you can support the show, like shares, reviews, subscriptions, whatever it is. It may seem small, but it does help the channel grow. So if you take the time to do that, we would love and appreciate you for that. Thanks for hanging out today, guys, giving us a watch, giving us a listen, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.